world's economy was India in 1700s, okay? So, 1,000 years of innovations we have taken. We took this much innovation because we were never a martial nation. People invested their time in mathematics, in music, in art, in spiritual process, not in the art of war. Their soldiers were mainly nominal, just to maintain small things. When outside people came and they're only fighting people, the only thing they have is they built massive militaries. All their men, the best men are in the military. So because of that happened, and another thing, they had gunpowder, which the others didn't have, whatever. I don't want to go into the historical thing. But poverty came. You must also understand 300 years ago when the British came to India, there was not a single illiterate person in India. Do you know this? They were amazed because there are no schoolrooms. How did everybody get literacy? But this is how it was. No organization. Everybody had a spiritual process, no spiritual head, no spiritual organization, no educational organization, but everybody had education. Because it just happened from one generation to another. Because of this, you couldn't destroy that particular culture. You understand? It doesn't matter how many innovations came. So they identified this and they said, unless you take away their education system and their strength of spiritual process, you cannot really take charge of this world. These letters were written to the British Parliament. And when the British left, 78% of India was illiterate. So they were successful in their mission to de-educate you. Now, these people have moved from a village to a city. You do not understand how much confusion is there in his mind. He just doesn't understand, it's another world, do you understand? In the village, he understood the social structure, how it is. For example, where we are, there's one police station about 12 kilometers from our ashram. There are about 10 or 11 policemen there. 3 will be always on leave. So, average 7 to 8 people are working at any time. Daytime 5, 6 are there, in the night 2 or 3 are there. There is no cars with prowling sirens and guns and batons and nothing. They got bicycles, okay? So, there is really no law as such. But no crime happens. People are living in such impoverished conditions. Nobody thinks of cutting his neighbor's neck and taking away what he has. People are in really bad situations, many of them, but still you drive in a car, they don't resent you. They don't think of how to cut your neck, cut your throat and take things away from you. This is spiritual process, you understand? For a long time it's percolated into their system. They understand that, okay, right now I'm like this, he's like this, I should not resent him. So this translates into a certain apathy when they move into an urban condition. In the village, it's not like that. If something happens to one person, there is no health care, there is no law, there is no fire brigade, there's no nothing, okay? But immediately people will respond and things will happen just like that, nobody is left alone. But when they move to the city, the same thing gets reversed because he does not know how to participate in an urban structure. What was a certain level of, discrimination, a certain level of settled nature within himself has turned into apathy, because if somebody falls down, he thinks that's his way, this is my way, and he goes about his way. It's very difficult to understand this, but I want you to understand this from his context. Almost 50% of the urban cities, the urban centers in India, have 50% rural population who moved in recently. They don't understand what it means to be a citizen of this large city. This will take some time. It's a moment of transition. Don't judge people just because you see one like that. There are many, I'm not saying there are one, there are hundreds of them, but still you must understand there are 1.2 billion people. For 1.2 billion people, 100 things going wrong per day is not very big. I want you to just understand this. If you remove the law from New York City, just see what happens in 3 days.
Next question.
You talked about
but when you go through 18 years of education, you have to read so many things. How does one find out what is the primary, how one is good at? It's very difficult. That's the point.
If you've not found out what you're good at by the time you're 35 or 40, you may not find it.
I think he's saying when you're good at multiple things.
That's what I said. If you're good at multiple things, you do multiple things. That's not the point. What I'm saying is, you do not think in terms of politically correct kind of actions. You think in terms of a larger vision as to what is, in what way, as USC, you must understand, you didn't start this race of life, nor are you going to end it. You are just a relay runner in this whole thing. Yes? Yes or no? You're just a relay runner. For a few years you have to carry the baton. If you're a relay runner, what's your intent? To finish this race little better than your predecessor did. In fact, in the end, that's all you can do. If you look back and see, have you made the world better than the way our parents gave it to us, or have you made it worse? That's all there is with life, isn't it? You may be believing I'm doing so many things, but actually this is all that you're doing, because the race does not begin with you or end with you. You're just a small part. Play that part fully. And when you play this part fully, different people have aptitude for different things. Whatever is your aptitude, it's best you put your thing there rather than all over the place. If you're good at 5 things, do 5 things, it's fine. But still everything towards enhancement of life, isn't it? I don't even want to use the word well-being, because that's understood in a certain way today. The thing is to enhance life, isn't it? The thing is to run a little faster. The thing is to hand the baton over a little more efficiently than the way your parents did. See, simple thing like raising children, how clumsily people are doing. This has been done for millions of years, why have we not learned how to raise a child? Even today they're having the same problems. That is not passing on the baton properly, clumsy. You know it's happened in the Olympics for the US team. Big runners, drop the baton, finished. So I'm saying, whatever you have been involved in right now, Jagdish mentioned about, okay, business, family, social things. See, these are different aspects of your life. You need all these things. You need to be successful with your family, it's very important, otherwise they'll pull you down, believe me. They may love you, but they'll pull you down. Yes, you've got to keep everything happy and well, isn't it? They must understand the purpose with which you're working. If you have a certain sense of passion and you've infused that passion in them also, they will also stand up and do things with you. If your passion is diverse from them, that's where it's heading. Isn't it? So if you have multiple competences, you can do. I do many things at the time. In a day, the variety of activity that I am doing is just crazy, okay? But it's okay as long as you can do it well. If you can't, you learn to withdraw from something that you're not able to do well. People ask me, Sadhguru, you started so many things. If I tell you how many things we are working on right now, it's insane. It's more than the government departments. That many things we are working on. We don't have the necessary investment and the people to do all these things. But I just keep pushing it. People say, Sadhguru, we're doing all this, suppose it fails. I said, if it fails, it's okay. But I don't want to die not trying. I do not want to die not trying. Whatever we think we can do, let's do it. If it fails, so what? If it fails also, I will die blissfully. If I succeed also, I will die blissfully. This much I have set forth. So this is something that you have to invest in. Once you decide to be on the fast track, the result should not be so important for you. How you are within yourself must be established. This is what yoga means. This is what inner engineering means. That you create this human being as a joyful human being. Now you jump out and do everything. Now your well-being is not linked to the rate of success that you're achieving. People say, we said 114 million trees. It's already 8 years. We planted only 17 million trees. So, Guru, how will we do 114? It's not happening, it's not happening. He said, relax, 17 million trees is wonderful. And above all, we have set fire to everybody. Even if we stop, others will do it. Suppose we can't do it, so many other people have caught fire, they will all do it. The important thing is your vision and how you are within yourself. How you are within yourself is not being invested upon at all. You're trying to develop your outside skills. Whatever your skills may be, if you don't have the necessary equanimity and exuberance at the same time, to be equanimous and exuberant, if you achieve this within yourself, then whatever competence you have will multiply 100-fold. If you don't have equanimity, you will see, you will spill all over the place. If you don't have exuberance, then again it will not find full expression. To make yourself into an equanimous and exuberant human being within yourself, which is not in any way enslaved to outside situations. If everything is going dead wrong today, still, this is how I am, okay? With the number of things happening, you must understand, don't be impressed by this 2.5 million volunteers and all this. I want you to understand what it means. Working with volunteers, what it means is nobody is trained for the job. Do you understand? They're enthusiastic, they're fired up, but they don't know how to do it. So every moment you have to guide it. If I hired a professional, instead of 100 volunteers, one guy would do that job, but you wouldn't have a movement. If he gets a better pay somewhere, he'll run away. These people are willing to die for it. That's a big difference. And another thing is, when you work with volunteers, you can't fire them. Just try to manage your company without the ability to fire the incompetent, you'll go crazy. So you must understand, volunteers means not some great thing. It is a you can't fire them and they're not trained for the job. That's a reality. But still wonderful things happen, because that is the nature of human spirit. When they are on it, when they really want to make it happen, they'll find a way. Somehow they'll find a way. That is the beauty of it. And this is the growth of the human being. Somehow. You know, people who never thought they could do all these things, today they have risen and they're doing all kinds of things that they never imagined possible. So, first establish your way of being. Then you go out and do whatever you're capable of. If you're not capable of it, you will find out halfway. But you're a joyful being, you're exuberant and you're balanced. If these two things you achieve, you will see every drop of competence you have will multiply 100-fold. If you don't have balance, every 100 drops of competence you have will get reduced to 10 drops or 1. Because you yourself are an issue. How can you handle outside issues? First thing is that you are not an issue. You make yourself like this, that you are not an issue. No matter what is the situation, you are never the issue. Just do this one thing for yourself. You deserve this, isn't it? That you are not the issue. There are a million issues to handle every day, but you are not the issue. If you become the issue, that's a big issue, isn't it?
Are there others who have questions? You have a question? Just announce your name.
My name is Vrishti Behel. Talking about education and children, being a mother of 2 daughters, you know, I grew up in India and I'm raising my kids here. I want to understand, how would you define leadership in kids, especially when we are in this competitive world, and yet I want my kids to not forget to be human. Like we're talking about humanity, how to generate that value, you know, to be human and to still develop leadership, you know. Simple things like, sometimes I see my daughter, you know, she's playing with her friends, and I see certain kids are guiding, oh, let's play this, let's do this. In a way, that's leadership, you know. I don't know, we would define it, oh, this kid is, you know, very good at, you know, heading out. But when you're not inclusive of, you know, the people that you are around with, would you still call it leadership? And if that's not leadership, what is the right definition of leadership, and how to instill that in kids?
See, leadership, if you look at it as a quality, if you look at leadership as an aspiration, it can produce many disastrous leaders. may end up producing Adolf Hitlers. Do not ever think of leadership as something that you aspire for. If you look at how to evolve a certain competence with whatever draws you in this life. If you become competent in a certain way, people will naturally look up to you. Leadership should be a consequence. Leadership should not be an aspiration. If leadership is an aspiration, you may produce sick people. Leadership should never be an aspiration. Do not ever use the word leadership with your children. It is not necessary. They must focus on doing something well. If you do something really well, 10 people will look up to it. If it's wonderful, 1,000,000 people will look up to it. That's all it is. Leadership should be a consequence of a certain type of action, not an aspiration. What is your idea of leadership? That you want to be on top of everybody else? That's a sick idea as far as I'm concerned. You know, you want to sit on top of everybody's heads is not a healthy idea, isn't it? You're doing something that invariably everybody looks up to, that's great, that's wonderful. That should happen to every human being. So do not bring this idea of leadership into child's mind. Bring this idea of involvement. Whatever you do, you know, I'm an absentee father, but I still brought up my girl. I just landed here and this family who knows my girl, they were asking, how is she? I said, see, I'm a telephonic father. I'm just fathering on the telephone most of the time. Every day I'm on the phone with her. That's the best I can do. But our meetings are like skirmishes here and there. Because that's how it is. And just because you're not physically there when things go wrong, no, you need to understand this. A child does not listen to what rubbish you speak. A child looks at how you are. Please fix that. Before you produce a child, you must look at this. Does the world need one more person like me? Is it good to have 2 people like me? Or is it one is enough? So, spend some time on yourself as to how you are. And naturally, the child will imbibe this. Child will not listen to your nonsense, your advices, your thing. No, I'm glad they don't. But they don't anyway. And it's good, that they should not listen to your advice. But if you make yourself in a certain way, the impact of that will not go. It will invariably be there. At a certain age, they may act a little funny, but they'll settle down, okay? That's part of their wanting to do things. Recently, you know, I took my girl off formal education at the age of 15 and put her into dance, classical dance. Everybody said, you're crazy. My father, who's a physician, I don't know why I'm sharing all this with you on a camera. Because my problem is, I don't know who is close to me, who is not. In my mind, everybody is like this with me. I don't know how you look at these things. My father was so terribly upset. He's highly educated, always focused on education. I have no education. When I pulled her off education, he said, you never got educated, don't destroy this, because he was thinking she's going to Harvard, she's going to Stanford. I said, no, she likes dance, let her do that, what's the problem? So today she's become an upcoming artist in the country. Recently she performed and a lot of critics saying good things about her. She was interviewed and naturally they asked, what is your father's advice for you, you know, because they know who I am. So the media is asking her in Delhi as to what is the big advice that your father gave. So she said, my father gave me no advice. This is just 3 days ago, it appeared in the newspaper. He gave me no advice. And he brought me up in such a way that even if he gives, I should not take any advice. But he has such a keen eye. So when he speaks, I have to listen because he sees things that I don't see. So I end up listening to him, but in the end, I have the satisfaction I'm doing my own thing. But actually, I'm doing what he said, but he never gives me an advice. So you do this one thing to your children, that stop being a parent. See, when you were growing up, please look at this. When you were growing up, if you had some issue, problem within you, most of you wouldn't go to your parents, you would go to your friend, isn't it?
Yes.
That friend, it gives his own unqualified advice. Why is it that you did not go to your parents? Because they should have been your best friends. It doesn't happen that way because you take a moral high ground that you seem to know better. You don't know anything better. You just came a few years before them. That's all the qualification you have. You may know how to earn a living, but you don't know much about life. Because between you and your child, even now I'm asking you, between you and your two girls, girls is it? Two girls, who is more joyful? Yeah. So they must be the consultants for life, not you. Why don't you just ask them, how should I bring you up? Yes, why not? Really. I'm telling you, when my girl was 2, 3 years of age, big problem, something, organizational problems, people's problems, individual problems, whatever. People come, I'll just throw it to her. Hey, this is a problem, what about it? At least 70–80% of the time, she came up with such brilliant answers. I'm telling you, this is not because this one girl is special or something. Every child is capable of this because their eyes are not fettered with unnecessary memory. They're just looking at things the way they are. That's something that you have to do to yourself, that your past does not interfere with your present and future. For that you must do some yoga, okay? But your child is already there. Make use of that in your home. Your business problem, your family problem, your personal problem, just throw it at them shamelessly and say, see, this is the thing I don't know what to do. You will see they will come out with a brilliant answer most of the time. Sometimes you will have to make your judgments, they will be too wacky, you know. But above all, you have put them on level with you. Now, tomorrow if they have some issue, the first person they think of is you, not some unqualified nonsense that is waiting at the street corner, okay? And that's important.
Anyone last question?
I think to a certain extent you might have answered this, but I wanted to ask, I've known that many people have ascribed various classifications to you, like guru and enlightened being, and I wanted to know whether you identify with those labels.
These are all different roles that you play in your life. And I believe in playing every role that I take up to the hilt. And you must, isn't it? When you're with your family, you must be 100% a family person. You step out on the street, you must be a great driver. You go to the office, you must run that well. Is that not important? So, if you get identified with one thing, you can't do the other thing properly. So identities are only situation specific. In that situation, yes, when I sit in a certain way, I am an absolute guru, no question. But do I walk the street like that? Definitely not. Do I go home like that? Definitely not. But when I sit there among people who come to learn something from me, I am 100% guru, no question about that. So, for the role that you take on, if you do not play that role fully, then why the hell are you playing it?
Last question. I think we're running out of time, so we'll just take this last question.
So, you spoke about people that are worried about the 97 million trees not yet planted. Versus
Oh, I
the
never
ones,
calculated the number, you got it.
versus the ones that enjoy the 17 that have been planted, the optimist versus pessimist, the glass half empty versus glass half full. Have you figured out a way of converting the glass half empty to the glass half full? What's the advice on that?
It's very difficult to explain this. I'm not even thinking of 114 million trees, this, that rubbish. Okay. My thing is, everybody around me, are they doing enough to compensate for whatever we're using up? This 114 million trees is just a barefoot calculation that I made, okay? I said, this much area, this is the area of Tamil Nadu, so many square kilometers. So 33% means this much. What is the gap is this much. One tree in 8 to 10 years will cover about 20 square feet of shade. Actually, it covers much more. I said, simply like this, 114 million trees. Because people need a number to work towards. If I just say, let's simply plant, keep on planting, after 3 days they think they've done enough. So you set some number there. So 114 is not a real target. The thing is, we have to put back green cover. In this generation, because we have pulled out so much as possible we must put back. That I think they're doing wonderfully well, so that's it.
Well, I think we can probably go on for another hour very easily here. Look at the enthusiasm of the audience, it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating actually to see the depth of knowledge and how well Sadhguru was able to articulate issues across the spectrum, right, which included education, ecosystem, and various other issues that we are all facing, which is really remarkable. I just want to request two things. I was going to actually say the aspiring leaders who are sitting here, but I'm not going to say that now. So the folks here who are working,
ordinary folks,
who are working to achieve, right, the results of whatever they are doing, which will ultimately become whatever it is, right? What is your advice? What is your advice? Especially in Silicon Valley. See, the leadership is such an important thing, right? And we've seen in the last 10, 15 years, certain challenging moments where people succumbing to pressures where they violate the ethics, insider trading and so on and so forth, which actually poses a huge challenge, especially if some of these leaders are viewed as iconic figures, right? So what would be your advice for all of these people who are here? And number two is something that I'm very curious about, and I don't know if it is doable at all or not. If you can give a glimpse, maybe 2 minutes or 5 minutes glimpse of this inner engineering, how many would like to see this or experience this, right? I would be fascinated actually if you could take us through a 5 minute or 10 minutes of this inner engineering that you have brought to this world.
So first of all, talking about leadership, there are 3 basic qualities which are a must for a leader. The most basic thing is insight. That is, you have some insight that others don't have. You're able to see something that others are not able to see. Otherwise, you're a contrived leader. You somehow gotten up there and you're always worried how you will fall down. Unless you're able to, leadership means you want to sit on a perch. If you sit on a perch and you can't see any better than the people who are not sitting on the perch, you will become a joke. Yes or no? Yeah. Once you sit on the perch, you must be able to see something that others are not able to see. Leader means he's a lookout person. It need not necessarily mean that you're able to do something better than somebody else, but you're able to see better than somebody else. Once you're able to see something that others cannot see, however clumsy you may be, you still become a leader. People will still look up to you because you are seeing something that they cannot see. This is most important. One needs to just work at that to develop a keenness of sight. Keenness of sight means, you need to understand, right now human visual apparatus are hugely loaded with memory. There's a whole system of yoga inner engineering is just one expression of that. There's a whole system of yoga as to how to clean your eyes of memory. See, to give you an example, suppose there are a crowd of 100 people standing there, but there's one face that you're familiar with. If you look at like this one face seems to be brighter than the remaining 99 faces. Have you noticed this? This is because the vision is aided by memory. Because there is a previous memory, that face stands out. So always in your vision, your memory is playing a very important role. So to develop an eye, which is… to develop an eye which is not tainted by memory. See, memory is a useful thing. Without memory, you wouldn't know what's what. But at the same time, to develop an eye which has no memory in it, this is what the yogic systems are referring to as the third eye. Do not understand third eye as some freaky thing that your forehead will crack and something will come out. A third eye means these two eyes are hugely aided by the memory process. A third eye is an eye which is not invested in memory, just vision, simply see. If you look like this, you should not even recognize who is male, who is female, simply looking. You don't even have to recognize this is a human being or an animal or just an inanimate thing, you don't do that, simply looking at it. If you learn to simply look at things without any of the previous acquired memory, then you see things that others cannot see. Whether it is… I'm sorry. Push. Then you will see… Hello? Okay. So whether it's business or spiritual process or whatever, the important thing is that you are not contaminated by your memory. You are able to see things just the way they are. Only if you see something, then what to do about it arises. That's a different level of competence. But if you simply see something that others cannot see, naturally people will look up to you. So insight is very important. Next thing is to have the necessary inspiration to pursue this insight. You may see something, you may not have the energy and the passion to pursue that. Any number of people in their growing years have come up with bright ideas in their mind, but they never had the energy nor the enthusiasm to pursue that, because pursuing will extract a certain price from you. Pursuing anything. That's how. Hello?
Is it saying the time is up?
Turn off and turn on.
Yes. So once you see some… any number of… almost all of you at some point in your life, as a child, as a youth…
We need light to get up here.
okay? So, any number of you might have had ideas, but to invest your life behind it takes certain courage and inspiration. There is no such thing as courage if you're madly inspired about something. Because if you're venturing out into something new, there is no guaranteed success about it, okay? For this, you must have an inner balance, that your success is not about how much it's going to be appreciated in the world, whether everybody is going to say okay to it or not. That's not the point. What you have seen is so important, it's worth investing your life behind it. This needs to happen. And when things start beginning to happen, when these things start happening, then the most important thing is integrity. As you climb higher, the value of integrity keeps going up. Because if you climb 2 steps, people will look at you. If you climb 5 steps, they'll look at you with a binocular. If you climb 100 steps, then they're looking at you with a microscope. Okay? So, I mean, even if you keep everything straight, somebody will be always inventing something about you, believe me. Anything that a man can do and cannot do, they accuse me of it, okay? There's no end to it. People who I have never met, I have never seen, seem to know more about me than myself. So this will happen. But that's not the point. It is just that whatever you're investing your life upon, is it worthwhile for you? And is it worthwhile for everything around you? If that much is settled, these things will happen. You don't think of leadership. I am a very reluctant leader, okay? I always like to be not in the limelight, but I am always on. Because invariably it happens. Wherever I try to stand at the back, invariably people will push me to the front. This is not because you aspire for it. This is because you're constantly looking at things with a certain vision, with a certain clarity, that invariably people will recognize that. And that should not be the measure of success. How many people recognize you is not the measure of your success. To what extent are you able to follow up on things that you see as a solution? I would say, for whatever I see in my life, I cannot explain this to you, it's very difficult because he's somewhere close to my soul. This happened a little over 30 years ago. On a certain day I went up this Chamandi Hill. You know Chamandi Hill? Chamandi Hill is… other people from Karnataka? Oh, okay. In Mysore city, at least at that time, the tradition was, if you want to test our motorcycles, we ride up Chamandi Hill. Want to have a party, we go up Chamandi Hill. If we have something to do, Chamandi. Nothing to do, Chamandi Hill. If you fall in love, Chamandi Hill. If you fall out, for sure, Chamandi Hill. It's like this. So that afternoon, between 2 business meetings, I was running a construction company. And in about 4.5 years, I'm far more successful than most people would imagine possible in a short span. Okay, today's all these IT companies are all growing like this, that's different. But in that era, that if you can grow at a certain pace, it was considered miraculous. So everybody's clapping their hands, oh so wonderful, you're doing this, you're doing that. And you're young and everything is going great, what's the problem? So between 2 business meetings, I have just a little more than an hour. So I rode up Chamandi Hill. I know Chamandi Hill like the back of my hand, right from my childhood I've trekked, I've camped and things. So I went and sat up on a rock, my eyes were still open. Till that moment I thought, this is me. That is somebody else. I have no issue with the somebody else. But this is me, that's somebody else. Suddenly I did not know which is me and which is not me. Everything around me, the very rock on which I was sitting, the atmosphere around me, just everything had become me. I thought this insanity lasted for maybe 5–10 minutes or 15 minutes. When I came back to my so-called normal state, about 4.5 hours had gone by. I'm sitting right there. For the first time in my adult life, tears. Tears and me are impossible. I'm like this. Tears to a point where my shirt is wet. 4.5 hours I'm sitting, tears have been flowing. I've always been Being happy and peaceful has never been an issue, but every cell in my body is bursting with a certain ecstasy which I have never known. With the closest of my friends, when I shared something is happening to me like this, the only questions that they could come up with was, what did you drink? What did you pop? What did you do? There was nobody to relate to, even my own mind. I am a super skeptic. I am somebody from the age of 4, I have never entered a temple. My parents go to temple, I got questions. If they cannot answer the question, I will not enter the temple. They never got around to answer the question, so I never went. So me and spirituality are two different worlds, there's no way to meet. I'm a super skeptic. Here I am bursting with something. When I ask in my mind, what's happening to me? My mind says, maybe you're going off your rocker. Because I did not grow up with any of those kind of things. And in about few weeks, this became like a normal experience for me all the time. What happened within me, I can never articulate, but what happened around me was so phenomenal. People around me could recognize. My whole body got realigned, my voice changed, the shape of my eyes changed. Things happened dramatically, everybody could see it's happening. One day I just sat down and I thought it's 25 minutes. I opened my eyes, a whole huge crowd had gathered. I said, what? Where did you come from? They said, you've been sitting here for 13 days. So, why I'm telling you this is, there are other dimensions of existence right here. And everybody should touch it. Then all the work that you take up becomes like play, you know. Right now, just using two things. What you're using to do your business and your leadership and whatever,